Hello, and on today's episodes, we'll be revealing Week 5 updated power rankings. We'll be looking at some of the biggest movers upwards and downwards in the league. We'll also take a look at a must win game next week for both teams if they want to stay in a playoff discussion, and one of the biggest surprise teams of the year thus far. Stick around, and we'll talk about that next. Hello, and welcome to the Everyday Fans Podcast, where the game belongs to all of us. No experts, no suits, just fans talking sports the way we live it every day. All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's get right into it. Well, first and foremost, thank you all for coming back to watch another episode here. Week 4 has concluded, so at the end of every week, it'll be on Tuesdays. I like to do these shows where I just go basically update my power rankings, and they're titled Week 5 because after Monday, Week 5 starts, right? So um, we'll look through all the performance of Week 4 to thus far, and we'll kind of break down these teams just a little bit, not in too depth, especially at the bottom. Nobody cares about some of those teams, so um, getting right into it in the elite tier. Number 1, I have the Buffalo Bills, 2, the Eagles, 3, Lions, Rams, 4, and the Colts, 5s. Starting with the Buffalo Bills, they're just rolling, right? Not too many hiccups for the most part, pretty clean games. Not a bunch to talk about here in terms of um, anything that they haven't done. The Saints were kind of in that game a little bit, just kind of hanging around in that game. Buffalo did not cover that spread, so depending on how you look at those two type of things, I still think they're fine. They're right at the top. Going into that second team though, the Eagles, they just still finding a way to win, right? I can't hate on a team that's hasn't lost a game since I don't even remember the last time they lost a game. But they've been rolling for a while here, right? But something that was interesting in that game, and I don't think that's sustainable, is they didn't have any passing yards against Tampa Bay in that second half, and I don't know if that's a sustainable thing that they will be able to do moving forward to just continue on that win streak. But to thus far, I would consider those teams like a 1A, 1B. I do have the Eagles rated second just because I feel like some of their games just haven't been as clean. Um, but they found ways to win, especially the game last week against the Rams. I had them losing that game, but they came up and made a big play at the end. So hats off to those guys. Number 3, the Detroit Lions. They just continue to just look good after the opening week loss at Green Bay. Maybe that's the best thing that may have happened to them all year thus far. So the Lions at 3 here, they just have some quality wins. They're winning in I would say convincing fashion. Obviously dominated the Bears in week 2. Um, went to Baltimore and beat up on them pretty good in week 3, and then taking care of business against Cleveland this past Sunday at home against a defense that was pretty good. And I mean, offensively, it wasn't their best performance, but they still had a strong offensive showing. So Lions at 3 there, the Rams with a big win at home over the Colts, who's number 5, right? So those teams just faced off uh, this past Sunday. The Rams were the home team. And I didn't drop the Colts a little too much. I think last week I might have had them at 4 or 5. I can't remember the exact number, but regardless, they don't really drop much here because they're facing a team that's right there, right? Both teams 3-1. Rams losing to the Eagles, which again I think they should have won that game, but they didn't execute late. The Eagles did, so they're 3-1, and the Eagles are 4-0. The Rams are one of those teams that I have them there late in the playoffs. I think they win that division. They're my favorite to win the NFC West. They do play this Thursday night as they host San Francisco there, who just lost to Jacksonville. So the Colts at 5. Not a ton to talk about there with them in terms of movement. Again, they've been a very solid team. A little bit of inconsistency in the red zone is some stuff I've been seeing with them. But Jonathan Taylor's looked good. This game they finally did turn the ball over some, so that'll be something to watch with them moving forward. First 3 weeks, no turnovers. Three of them on Sunday against the Rams. Really good defense for the Rams, so we'll see how that plays moving forward. But we'll keep it rolling here as we go to the contenders page. Number 6, I have the Chargers. So bad loss for the Chargers to the Giants. But I think the Giants just had a little bit of juice there, getting the rookie quarterback coming in there for Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart. But another thing that hurt the Chargers, Rashawn Slater, their left tackle, was already out, got injured in preseason, and now Joe Alt was carted off as he was their right tackle, and that's moved to left tackle. So if he's going to be out, they got some issues, right? As much as they have Justin Herbert and some of these weapons on the offensive side, um, they're going to really have to look at how they're going to operate their offense moving forward with those key pieces on the offensive line being out. Um, Number 7, the Buccaneers, 3-1 team that just lost to the Eagles on Sunday. Uh, not a not a bad loss. I think they at times I think the injuries kind of caught up with them in this game with the Eagles being a solid of a team as they are, and not being able to get the job done. Baker with a bad turnover late in that game that maybe if they score there, maybe they're in the game a little more late. So the Buccaneers ranked at 7 there. Surprise jump here for me for the Chiefs. Excuse me. The Chiefs, I put them higher because of where they were and what they have coming, right? They didn't have receivers early in the year, and they were just they were finding ways to win. Now, granted, Baltimore has failed to 1-3. We'll look at them a little bit as they've dropped out of the top 10 here, obviously. But the Chiefs have a lot coming back. Xavier Worthy came back this past week, had a nice impact on the game. But Rashee Rice, who's healthy, he's just suspended, will be back soon. So Chiefs have a lot coming. When I look at them, I still see the championship DNA. The defense has been there. The offense just wasn't really pulling their weight. And I think they have enough firepower coming here within the next couple of weeks to where they could easily surpass a team like the Chargers. Even though they lost to them on opening night, I think they can get it rolling with things they have coming back and with some of the subtractions that the Chargers may be looking at here. We don't know exactly yet, but if the Chargers are missing Joe Alt, already down another starting tackle, that's going to be hard to overcome. Not saying a Jim Harbaugh-led team cannot. It's just going to be very difficult for them to overcome that. Number 9, the Green Bay Packers. Still in the top 10. I still have a lot of question marks with this team, but they do have some pretty good wins over the Lions and over the Commanders, who, I mean, they're 2-2 team now, but they're missing Jayden Daniels. So we'll see here. But just tying with the Cowboys, what are we doing here, right? We're giving up 40 points to the Packers, but hats off to the Dallas Cowboys, as we'll touch on them a little bit more in a bit. But the Packers are basically holding that slot just out of one, having some pretty good wins in a caliber of team that they have on paper. So I don't want to do a lot of that, but I think I should hold them there. And as a Bears fan, I'll hold them at 9 for this particular week. Number 10 is the Steelers, as Mike Tomlin has these guys maybe rounded into the form here. Aaron Rodgers has been very efficient to this point during the season. Very efficient this past Sunday in the overseas game, the Dublin game, as he had a pretty efficient game there. Mostly hitting DK. A lot of those yards went to DK Metcalf, and he had his first monster game with the Steelers. So, and on the defensive side, the defense finally looking like a defense that you come to know for the Steelers to display. And with the Baltimore Ravens struggling, 1-3, Cincinnati Bengals really bad right now with Joe Burrow being hurt. And the Browns just kind of being one of those teams. Pittsburgh is in full control of this division. We'll see what happens with some of these other teams, but The Steelers I have at 10 there. As we go on to the playoff hopefuls, uh, Jacksonville Jaguars, Seattle Seahawks, 49ers, Broncos, and Commanders. Number 11, the Jaguars, with an impressive win against the 49ers here. So those three teams, 11, 12, 13, very close in my opinion. But the Jaguars did just beat San Francisco at home, so I have them ranked higher for that main reason. Jacksonville, a lot of penalties still, but they're winning games. So I don't think that's something that they want to. I think that's something that they want to clean up, and I don't think it's sustainable to win games having as many penalties. I think they had like 12 penalties this week, and that's been a consistent theme through the whole season. But their defense has had multiple takeaways. I think up to 4 this past week. So they're getting extra possessions for their offense. And Liam Cohen trying to get his offense established there with the new quarterback. Well, not new quarterback, but his new quarterback and Trevor Lawrence. He's played decent. You know, nothing spectacular, but he's not losing them games. So um, Jacksonville at 11 there. The Seahawks at 12, playing really good defense. Won that game on the road to open week 4 against Arizona. So solid divisional win for them there. I think they're a dark horse team to watch in the NFC. Tough division, but I think they can. I think they can. Uh, compete in that division. I like to see them when they play the Rams. I don't think they've played yet. So we'll see. A top receiver in Jackson Smith and Jigba. Sam Darnold's finally looking like he can maybe lead an offense, and they have a solid defense with a defensive head coach. So we'll see what the Seahawks do moving forward. Number 13, the Niners. Uh, I don't know if they'll be able to sustain a lot of this stuff with a lot of the injuries, right? As good as the scheme is, as good as as good as Purdy has been since he's been a starter in the league. I think the injuries, but just I think they're just catching up with him, and it's just been like year after year the last few years with the Niners. So we'll see what they do moving forward. Have them at 13, but to this point they play pretty well thus far. So do want to give them their respect. So that's why I have them at 13. The Broncos dominated last night. Cincy, who's a shell of themselves without Joe Burrow. They have no identity offensively in terms of they can't move the ball. They can't run it. Browning is not able to get the ball to the receiver. So very ugly and Cincy, but the Broncos taking care of business at home. So hats off to them. Um, this is a team that I think can rise relatively quickly if they can get some quality wins. This is a team coming into the year that I thought was a playoff caliber team. So here they are in playoff hopefuls tab or the playoff hopefuls tier. As I think they'll be there, one of those teams throughout the year. At 15, we have the Washington Commanders. So they fell to Atlanta on the road, but no Jayden Daniels the last 2 weeks. Marcus Mariota, he's been fine, but I think they'll be looking to get Jayden Daniels back here to kind of get it back rolling. We'll see. I didn't expect them to look like the same team they did last year. The book is out on them a little bit in terms of some of the things that Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator, wants to do with that offense, but injuries, just like everybody's dealing with, right? Jayden Daniels out, Terry McLaurin out, Austin Eckler out. So all these teams are dealing with injury. Is just who's going to deal with them the best and who can overcome some of those things is, the teams that'll rise to the top. So in the middle of the pack here, finally we get to Baltimore. Some of y'all may say this is an overreaction. I don't think it is because they have a lot of injuries, and I was very high on this team. Let me tell you all that right out the gate. I was very high on Baltimore coming into the season at thinking they could possibly win a Super Bowl just because of kind of the learning experiences, if you will, you can get from losing, right? This team looks bad. Not only do they look bad, they have a ton of injuries. And Lamar could potentially be out this week with a hamstring if it's a bad hamstring injury. So the Ravens have a lot of work to do. And with the injuries, I don't know that that's something that they can overcome. We would just have to wait and see. Number 17, the Minnesota Vikings. Again, more injuries as their starting quarterback was out. Carson Wentz looked like Carson Wentz uh, last Sunday morning, and at an early game against the Steelers, he looked like a backup quarterback. He looked like a guy that uh, has moved around 6 teams in 6 years or whatever the number has been. But he did not look very comfortable. The offensive line did not do him any justice. Uh, and even the Minnesota Vikings defense against a veteran quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, he's seen a lot of different looks. So he was able to dissect the pressures that they were simulating and get the ball to mainly DK Metcalf and do damage in that way. Uh, Number 18, the Atlanta Falcons got back on track this week with the win at home over the Washington Commanders. So um, a lot of these teams in this 16 to even where my Bears are at 21, 2-2, they're just kind of middling, right? I would even put the Bears in this pack, but I do have them in the next tier because to me they still have a lot to prove, even coming off the win. But we'll get to them shortly. The New England Patriots dominated, but it was the Carolina Panthers, right? A team that's ranked lower than them. They took care of business at home. Drake May looks Drake may look solid for those guys. So I think they have a quarterback there. Let's see what Mike Vrabel can do. A lot of penalties, a lot of turnovers, which is uncharacteristic for winning football. So let's see what they're able to do. Arizona lost to Seattle at home last week. This team they're just like they're there. They just seem like they're just consistently be a middling type of team. Um, Good enough to win some big games sometimes, but they'll lose those really big games, but they'll beat the teams that they're probably supposed to beat, the Saints, the Panthers, some of those type of teams. But when they get some real competition, they just always find a way to lose those type of games. So not high on the Cardinals, but I have them pretty much. They're rated. If I go to the next slide here with the lower tier, with the Chicago Bears, right? My Chicago Bears at 21. So first and foremost, great win for my Bears, but it was ugly, right? And sometimes as a team that's learning how to win football games, you got to win games like this to ultimately improve your locker room culture and the culture of winning around the building. So solid win for the Bears. I don't think they've proven anything yet in terms of uh, being, an upper echelon team. So I do have them in this lower tier. Dallas Cowboys tied with Green Bay the week before, losing to the Bears. So I think offensively they're one of the better teams, even without CD. Dak has played exceptional this season. MVP conversation, if you ask me. But the defense has been historically bad. So um, not a winning formula for winning football games. So I have them at 22. The Houston Texans finally get their first win of the year as they roll the Tennessee Titans. They actually shut them out. I think it was 26-0. So able to get on track a little bit for those guys. Um, the Bengals, they're just sliding, man. They were probably up there. I know they were in the top 20 last week, but this team will continue to slide until Joe Burrow gets back. I just don't see a way for them to win. The last two games, just 6 total points, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going off the top of the head here, but the Cincinnati Bengals, just a bad organization right now. But they have two of the better offensive weapons, and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, that are just kind of wasting away out there right now, right? So hopefully the Bengals can figure something out. Maybe they can make a trade if Joe Burrow is going to be out long term to get those guys the football so they can make the plays that they're capable of making. If I have those guys in fantasy, like, I'm pissed because, I mean, it's ugly. It's very ugly, right? The Raiders just losing to the Bears at home. I think they're still trying to find a bit of an offensive identity. Genty did get it going pretty good. They actually dominated the Bears on the ground. So I think in that aspect, I think they were satisfied with some things they did offensively. Geno Smith very sloppy with the football though. Veteran quarterback 3 picks. He seemed very he seemed very easy to read, if you will, and maybe that was the Bears doing their homework, or maybe he just was bad at football. It's kind of hard to tell off that. It looks like the Browns are cut off on this page. I apologize for that, but maybe you can see the top of that helmet there. But that last one is at 26 is the Cleveland Browns. So a team that offensively they just look like their defensive team, right? And offensively they can't do enough yet to score the ball to win games, honestly. And I'm at a point where, well, not quite yet because I understand why they're not playing some of the young guys, but I think we may be approaching a time here if they keep losing another week or two where the conversation will need to start happening more frequently. From me, from anybody else that does media type of content, that uh, get these rookies some snaps, even if it's not Shador. I know everybody wants to see Shador. I believe they have Dylan Gabriel higher on the depth chart. So if we do see one, it's more than likely going to be Dylan Gabriel first. So um, if you're a Browns fan, just be prepared for that, or Shador Sanders fan. But these guys needed time to develop. They needed time to kind of learn the offense and kind of see how things work in the NFL, right? So Cleveland Browns at 26. And when I go to the struggling tier, we have the Giants at 27. So the Jackson Dart era started this past Sunday. Excuse me. Russell Wilson not the starter no more, and they get their first win of the season over a really good Chargers team, right? Um, and they found a way to win that game. So he extended some plays with his legs. He made a few throws when it needed to be to, but he has a long way to go, right? But I think this is good for the Giants in terms of getting this guy experience. This is not a team that's going to win a Super Bowl this year, but they're able to get their young quarterback, some reps early and get him in a live action in a real game setting and a real regular season game. So good for the Giants. Let's see what they do moving forward. But I think if they do it right, I don't know if Dable's the coach. I'm not sold on him by any means, but I like what I saw from Dart. I think Scadaboo could be a solid player for at least a couple of years for those guys. Malik Neighbors going down really hurts them, but we'll see what they can do the rest of the year. We'll kind of rush through these other teams because they're pretty bad. Nobody wants to hear about them. Panthers 28, Dolphins 29. Little bit of a spark from the Dolphins last night, but another injury there. Tyreek Hill out for the year, so maybe that gets dampened a little bit by that injury. The Jets still looking for their first wins. The Saints at 31 still looking for their first win, and the Tennessee Titans, which is also cut off. So I have to look at that going forward next week. So I apologize for that, guys. The last two slides. The Tennessee Titans is the last team there at 32, also looking for their first win of the season. These teams at the bottom are pretty much, to me, going to be the teams that are at the bottom the rest of the year in terms of who's picking for draft capital or the number one pick, right? So all in all, when I look at the entire landscape of the league, we kind of know what we got. If we go back to this kind of middle of the pack, and I could even include, from 23 up. If we go from 23 up, which is the Texans, there's viable paths for, still some of these teams to make the playoffs, right? I think the Bengals would tell me they would like to hold on hope. But with Joe Burrow being out, with just the energy in that locker room, it's going to be hard for those type of teams to make the postseason with the way they've started the season, right? And just the ability to not be able to quite hit the mark of just the continuity on offense that they need to score points to be in these games, right? Like they cannot move the ball at all. It looks pretty pathetic, actually, if you watch any of their games. I don't recommend watching it, but if you watch any of their games, it's looked very, very bad. So next, we'll get into some teams that are trending upward. I just selected two teams for this segment. Um, First, we'll start with the Kansas City Chiefs as they beat the Baltimore Ravens 37-20 this past Sunday. So if we look over here and look at the schedule here at 2-2, they started 0-2 and they've won the last two games. But if you look at every game here, even the Chargers in Brazil, I mean they lose by 6 points. You know, the Eagles at home they lose by 3 points, right? So these games they're right in, right? And when I look at their ability to just withstand the injuries, withstand some of the things that have been going on, um, this is the type of team that everybody should know at this point. A Hall of Fame head coach, Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, defensive coordinator. I'm not going to go so far as to say he's a Hall of Famer, but he's really good at his job, and he knows how to uh, disrupt offenses, right? So the Chiefs are one of those teams that some people were counting them out. I had some question marks on them earlier in the season myself, but looking at it being going into week 5, I think Rashee Rice is either back week 6 or week 7. It may be week 7. I think he might be out for 7 weeks, but this guy is their number one receiver, and he's gonna open his offense back up to them to be able to run the ball. This is one of the reasons why they haven't been able to be as effective on offense is because Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, they can't run the ball, and they've been very one-dimensional. So the Chiefs are a team that I think is trending up. I put it in the rankings. They were up to number 8, I think. And then there was an oversight by me on that with this next team. The next team is the Pittsburgh Steelers that I have trending up. 3-1, lost to the Jets, and the oversight is here. I had Seattle at 12, and I had Pittsburgh at 10. I forgot they lost to Seattle at home. So if you're still watching, those two would be flopped. That was an oversight by me. Pittsburgh or Seattle will be 10. Pittsburgh will be 11, and I will move the Jaguars down to 12. So my apologies for that on that oversight. But they're rounded in the form a little bit, right? Defense, first game, terrible. 17 points at home, 31 points at home, terrible. But then they hold New England with some turnovers to 14, and then Minnesota to 21, which 21 it looked a lot worse than that, right? So they a lot of pressure. They had some turnovers, and with a home divisional game coming up against Cleveland, who's a team that to this point very good defense, but it's not a team that's just been just rattling off wins to this point. Very winnable game. The ability for them to go up 4-1. Also with the Bengals on the road, that looks like a Thursday night game on Prime Video the week after that. So we're looking at a Steelers team that could be 5-1 here before hosting Green Bay on a looks like Sunday night football game in a couple of weeks here. So the Steelers and the Chiefs, both teams that I think are trending upwards. That you both want to keep. You want to keep an eye on both of those teams. A game that I think is a must-win. We have to go to the 12 o'clock window here next Sunday. We have the Texans traveling to Baltimore, right? If we go down to the injury report, so they don't have Lamar on here as of yet. This will be updated as the week continues because there's obviously been no practice. I'm recording this on Tuesday, so no practices to this point throughout the week. But if we look at the spread, 3.5, 43.5 point total. ESPN FPI matchup predict says 67% Baltimore, but you got to keep an eye on the Lamar Jackson injury, right? This Texans defense is pretty good, right? Granted, they just shut out the Titans. The Titans aren't the best team offensively. I get that, but Texans have a pretty good defense. Baltimore Ravens defense have given up points to everybody. I think I could get out there with a couple of guys and score against that defense. No, not really, but you get the point, right? They have not been able to stop anybody. So this is an opportunity for the Houston Texans, who finally get their first win to keep it rolling. And this is a chance for Baltimore to maybe stop the bleeding a little bit, right? But if you look at this for both teams, and by the way, Houston, if we look here at the top, 0-2 on the road, right? Baltimore just 1-1 at home. So both of these teams were in the playoffs last year. Both of these teams won their division outright last year. So they have expectations to be in the postseason. So when I look at this matchup, a team potentially going to a 1-4, I mean, obviously they could tie like Green Bay and Dallas. The NFL needs to change that, by the way. Absolutely ridiculous for a game to end 40-40 in a tie. Anyway, one of these teams should be going to 1-4, and your season's looking very bleak at that point, right? You got the Colts at the top of the division at 3-1 with the Houston Texans, and you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, the hated rival of the Baltimore Ravens, who are at 3-1 with two easy matchups coming up, easier matchups. You know, it's the NFL, so I don't want to. Houston also has Jacksonville over here too, right? Right. So Indianapolis and Jacksonville both 3-1, and here we are 1-3. So they got a lot. They have their work cut out for them, right? In Baltimore with Pittsburgh being 3-1, I wouldn't worry about Cincinnati so much, especially if Baltimore could get healthy. But they got to start winning some games. So this is a game that is a must-win for both teams. Biggest surprise of the year, I have to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Liam Cohen and his crew, although it's not been pretty, they need to clean up a lot in terms of the penalties. I could easily say the Colts, but I kind of highlighted them last week, so I do want to bring up a different team. That's why I'm saying the Jaguars, who is 3-1 also, tied with the Colts in that division. And those two teams will be playing coming up here in a few. Let me see. Can I click on it? Yeah, let's click on Jacksonville there. Let's see. They don't play. They don't play till later in the year, so we won't see that matchup till like early December. So those teams, I'm sure records will look a lot different by then. But Jacksonville, they made the trade to go off for Travis Hunter. They brought in Liam Cohen, so a lot of different moves they've made to position themselves to be at just 3-1 at this point. Still early in the season, a lot could happen. You know, we could be talking in a couple of weeks and they're 3-5, right? But the way they're winning games, taking away the football, their defense being kind of the hallmark of them being able to stay in games and ultimately help them win games, for me is a sign that they're a team also that I could have put in trending up, right? But big surprise to be at the top of that division, tied with the Colts. Looking ahead to next week, my Chicago Bears are off. You guys, we don't care about the Bears, but my Chicago Bears are off. So I'll be watching a lot more of these other games kind of intimately because when the Bears are on, I kind of just focus on those guys. I do want to highlight them real quick in terms of the type of win they had. Very good win. But what I do want to note there, is that although I'm a Bears fan, this is a sports show, I want to try to be as unbiased as possible, right? So I thank you guys. I'm trying to grow this channel. Please consider subscribing, sharing, commenting, whatever the case may be. I'm a small-time creator. I love talking football. I love watching football. So this is something I'm finally doing, finally getting going. The show will improve in all aspects. So anything you see now that's, not as clean, not as, efficient, it will get better. Trust me, because that's the type of person I am. So thanks again for another episode. Again, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later this week. Looking ahead to week 5. Peace.